Hello, everyone. I know that you'll be starting on Project 1, your digital files this week. And if you look under the Project 1 statement, we're going to be creating a 24 rules poster. Um, Professor Nelson did post a couple videos that talk about sketching type, that talk about the starting point. So definitely watch through her videos. She's sort of the one that has created this project and built the course site that we're working from. I mentioned that some of her videos might talk about dates that are in the past, and if you might even reference COVID still. But basically, these, the videos that were posted before still pertain to what we're working on this semester, but I will more than likely post some videos that go over different things, and as we keep going. So this is the Word document that has the list of 24 type rules, so you don't have to retype all of these rules. But basically what you'll be doing is creating a poster. The poster should be 20 by 24. You can either do, I think most people do a vertical format, so make sure you keep it to that vertical format. But you can see in these examples that there is a sense of hierarchy. You remember that word from Print Design 1, the level of visual hierarchy, where first you see the headline, then you might see a subheadline, and then you might see the body copy. So this would be the headline, the subheadline, and then this is the body copy for those rules. You'll also notice that most people are working within a grid, and you can't see that grid visually, but if you opened up these files in their native program, you would see this is probably more of a modular grid. You can see that the students, if you zoom in on these things, you can see the students use bold, they use regular. So using the different weights within this type, the type to show even more visual hierarchy. So definitely look through these examples. Again, we're setting up a project that's 20 by 24, but I just wanted to show you a couple different ways I would set up my file in InDesign. I probably would do this in InDesign. We kind of didn't specify which program that you should use, but I feel like InDesign works really well with setting up multiple columns, with working with typography. Illustrator, to me, being more vector-based, is more for illustration or icons or logos, things of that nature. So if I was to go to InDesign, I would open up my InDesign file and I would go to New File. You always want to go to Print because most of the projects we do in here will be print-based, not web-based. For some reason, the default is always picas, so I always change this to inches. We want this to be 20 by 24, so I'm going to set this here. Remember to always turn off facing pages. If you're not working in something that's a spread, you'll want to go ahead and turn off facing pages. And sometimes when I initially set up my files, I know that I'm going to be doing different variations, or, I think for the first feedback loop, I want everyone to have like at least 3 different layouts for us to kind of look at and give feedback on. So I'm just going to go ahead and do 3 pages. And then you want to think about your margins. So this is a pretty big file. It's kind of more posterish. So if you wanted to, you could set your margins at 3/4 of an inch. You could do 1/2 inch if you want, but you definitely want to set those margins. And then this is also another place where you're going to be working with a column structure. And you might, and this, you guys are going to be doing sketches first, but I want you to think about, as you do your sketches, think about that column structure. So I know that we've got a pretty big poster. I am going to have, smaller elements that I'm going to be working on. So I'm going to go ahead and do 4, and I'm going to leave the column gutter the way it is. I'm also going to set my bleed because more than likely you'll have a color that goes to the background. And if you remember this from Print Design 1, you should always set up that bleed area that you can pull your artwork outside of that a little bit, and that helps with trim for the printer. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create. And what you can see here now is that I've got a poster with columns. If I go to my pages, you'll see I have 3 pages. And then now if I want to, as I organize my text, I can pull down guides for those horizontal, horizontal elements that are going to be going across. And as I look at these 4 columns, I think, that's good. But if I have to do 3 different layouts, maybe I want to decide to have each page have a different column structure, and you can totally do that. The other thing I'm noticing is I don't really, the space, this gutter in between my columns, I kind of want to change those to be a little bit wider. And there's a bunch of different ways you can do that. So if I go to my layout, I don't know if you can see that, but if I go to the layout menu and go to margins and columns, that will bring up everything that I set for these pages. And I'm going to go ahead and make my gutter 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to hit OK. And since I was on page 1, it only changed page 1. If I wanted to change it on all of them, I would go to my parent page. But right now, because I'm just starting to explore different layouts, I'm just going to keep it off the parent. And then maybe with the second page, I'm going to go to layout, margins, and columns. For this one, I might want to try 5 columns, and I'm going to make my gutter a little bit bigger too. So now I have 5 columns. So I have one with 4 columns, one with 5 columns, and then maybe this third one, let's try 6. So I'm going to go to layout, margins, and columns, and let's try 6. Make my gutter a little bit bigger. So now I have even more flexibility of where to put different elements, how to align things a little bit better. You have the 24 rules. So am I going to do 2 columns, 3 columns? What's nice is 24 inches. I think it's even divisible by 4. So think about, how many terms do you want in each column, all that kind of stuff. And again, you're going to be starting with sketches, but I just wanted to kind of show you this kind of stuff. If you go to Illustrator, say we're going to start a new file in Illustrator, we're going to do print, make sure this is inches, and I'm going to set this up to the 20 by 24 again. You'll notice that you can set bleed, but there really isn't anywhere here to set margins or columns or anything like that. So you would have to do that manually. You would have to turn your rulers on, and you would kind of have to do the math. You can kind of see in your ruler, that's an inch, this is an inch. But I would have to kind of figure out if I was going to do half, I guess that would be 10 inches. If I was going to do half of that, that would be 5 to set up those 4 columns. But then I have to kind of bring out, if I want a 1/4 inch gutter, I kind of have to work. So to me, setting up columns and guides and margins and everything in Illustrator just becomes cumbersome. So I would highly recommend that you work in InDesign. There's going to be plenty of opportunity to work in Illustrator in this course as well. So, and I think the good practice for graphic designers is really to get used to using all of them. So in some cases, you might design, say, a logo or a little illustration in Illustrator. You'll place that into InDesign, finish your work from InDesign. Or you might have a photograph that you want to manipulate in Photoshop, and then save that, bring that into InDesign. So, again, I'll leave that up to you. Email me if you want a little more instruction on how to set up guides in Illustrator, but I do recommend that that you work in InDesign. So that is basically my introduction to Project 1, kind of a way to get started. And then, but the first thing that's due, if we close this file, the first thing that you see that's due is sketches. So everybody should post their sketches. I totally got lost here. Everyone should post their sketches by the 15th. So this is the next, and really that's all you have to do this week is just those sketches. But I would definitely look through Project 1 statement, watch all the videos. So watch these 2 videos that Professor Nelson created, download your rules document, kind of take a look at the examples, and then start working on your sketches. And from there, I'll give you feedback and we can move to the next step in the project. So email me if you have any questions about what's happening this week, and I look forward to seeing your sketches for the first project.